There was a report about you guys doing joint practices with the Chargers. Is that set?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we're excited about it and looking forward to it. I always thought, practicing against somebody else was, a good change to the, so that you don't get stale with your training camp practices. And it's a good football team, and it'll give us an opportunity to work against somebody else. So yeah.
I heard somebody from the league office saying that they actually are encouraging some of the joint practices just from a player safety standpoint. It's about the closest thing you'll get in the preseason to.
Yeah, I don't know if encourage is necessarily the right word, but I think there's some benefits to injury prevention in terms of the difference between a joint practice where it's a little bit more. There's a little bit more to it than just when you're practicing to get your own group, but yet it's not the same as a preseason game. And so, from an injury prevention standpoint, you're less apt to be injured in a joint practice than a preseason game. I guess if that makes sense.
Do you almost feel like you get higher quality work that way when you get the one-on-ones where you might not get as much of that in the game, in the preseason game?
Yeah, well, look, there's a higher concentration of reps. When you're talking about your first group getting out there and getting some work. I'd say generally, probably the most work that your ones are going to get is probably, call it 20 plays, 25 plays, maybe in a preseason game. That would be on the high end, whereas they're probably getting 30 to 40 reps in a joint practice. So yeah, there's a lot of good benefits to that.
Dennis, Sean McDermott's going to be calling plays on defense for the Bills this year. What will be the challenge for him during the week and also during the game?
Well, that'd be a hard question for me to answer for him. Certainly for me, the challenges really are, during the work week of finding, the right amount of time and the right balance between getting yourself ready to call a game on one side of the ball, but yet still, being on top of managing the whole team. And so that was the challenge for me. I can't speak for the challenge for him.
Did it get easier as the more experience you got doing it?
Yeah, I think anything gets easier the more you do it. I really didn't. I never really saw it as a challenge. It was just, managing your time throughout the week.
What do you guys think about Brian Edwards?
Excuse me?
Brian Edwards, I guess.
Yeah. Look, we had a lot of really good grades on him coming out in the draft. And so we felt really good about that. We felt good about the relationship that he has with Derek. I know when we played them out in Vegas in the 2020 season, I was impressed with some of the things that I saw in terms of a big physical, pass catcher. And so, yeah, I think he's a guy that I think, you bring him in, you put him in the mix, and I think he's got a chance to help us.
And then the two DTs, how do they fit? What do they do well?
Well, Colin Saunders reminds me a lot of Hollis Thomas. Kind of a big, square-bodied, athletic, can move. Good run stopper, but yet has some pass rush ability, sneaky pass rush ability, I think. The ability to push the pocket inside. And so I think he's going to help us in that regard. Maybe slightly more athletic than what we saw with Shy. And then I really think Nathan Shepard is a similar player to David. Big, physical, run stopper. Again, another guy that probably doesn't get enough credit in terms of his ability to rush the passer. I think that's an area that he can still improve on, but yet I think there's some I think there's something there that hasn't been tapped into yet.
I mean, just going down the list, Lonnie and Abram, how do they fit in?
Are you going to hit them all?
Yeah, I mean, that's
We're gonna ask you about Jamal Williams too.
Yeah. Yeah, look, with a lot of these free agent acquisitions, they're guys that we see a skill set in them. We see things that we like, and we're going to give them an opportunity to come in, compete, and show us what they can do. I mean, Lonnie's a guy that can play multiple positions, that has played multiple positions. He's played outside, he's played inside, he's played in the safety position. He's big, he's physical. He's athletic, and he's got some versatility to him, and Jonathan's a guy that again, another guy that we had good grades on coming out in the draft. He was a first-round draft choice. Todd Grantham was with him at Mississippi State. He loves the player, and there's a skill set there that we like. I mean, he's tough, he's physical, and we'll give him a chance to go in there and compete and see what he can do.
Do you feel like you filled everything you wanted to in free agency?
Well, look, I think we've made some nice moves in free agency. You're always looking to see where you can continue to, try to fill out your roster, but we feel good about where we're at right now.
You got 3 pretty notable players on your roster to take agree to a pay reduction to come back to the team. And I just, when you get that to happen, what does that say about, I guess, what you're building here, about their willingness to do that to come back?
Well, yeah, I think it speaks to the organization. I think it speaks to the fact that, we're one of the functional organizations in our league. And I think we got a great locker room, and I think guys enjoy being a part of that locker room. And so, so that's a huge benefit for us as an organization.
Does it also say that, they're just assuming that y'all are going to be very competitive this year? I would
That's
just
the
assume
assumption
that,
every year,
right?
right? That's the goal every year. And so, we feel like we're going to be, highly competitive, and our expectation is to win.
Since we haven't hit him yet, Jamal Williams. There's a lot of really accomplished running backs on the free agent market this year. What made him the guy that you guys want?
Yeah, look, number one, he's got a physical run style, which I think is something that we can use. Obviously with Alvin, we have a dynamic playmaker at that position. But yet I think we can use the big physical bruising type running back, and he certainly proved he could do that down there in goal line situations and short yardage situations. So we're excited about the player. He was somebody that we really thought highly of, and we're glad we got him.
Did you hear anything?
Look, all of them. I think when you look at what we've done defensively, and you look at Marcus and David, and maybe Caden to a lesser degree because it's kind of a 1 year, really probably 1.5 years of production for him. But those guys were instrumental in what we were able to do, and so they'll be tough pieces to replace. But it's the nature of the business. It's the nature of what we do in our league, and we feel like we found some pieces that we can plug in there, and we'll still find a way to play good defense.
DA, have you seen Mike much, and can you gauge where he is in his recovery?
Yeah, I don't want to get into specifics on that, but yet, look, he's making progress in the recovery. He's not 100%, and we're gonna be cautious with it, and take our time, and we don't really want to put him out there till he's 100%.
What does it say for the trust between both sides that he continues to want to try to make it work in New Orleans?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I think the acquisition of Derek was big in that thought process. I don't want to speak for Mike, but I also just think that I think Mike knows, and a lot of our players know that they work for one of the better organizations in our league, and we're going to have a chance to do some good things this year.
You say not 100% because people are going to jump out. Like, is that an optimistic, not 100%? Like you expect them?
Yeah, I expect him to be fully healthy and ready to go. When that point in time is, I don't want to get into those speculations, but yeah, we feel good about where he's at.
It sounds like the emphasis on offense was maybe to get more physical, both in the running game and the passing game. Is it fair to say that was a point of emphasis? And if so, why?
Yeah, I don't know if that was I don't know if we really sat there this offseason and said, okay, hey, look, we've got to be more physical on offense. But yet, that's an aspect that I think we can improve on. And obviously, Mike being back and healthy, that brings a physical element to the receiving core. Jamal Williams brings a physical element to the run game. So, and look, I think, ultimately, that's the style of team we want to be able to be, is be a tough physical team.
Did y'all contact Detroit at all, considering Jamal Williams? Just
well,
kind of, because I know y'all have friends over there.
Yeah, we again, I won't get into specifics into how we go about doing our research, but we certainly did our research on the player, and I did not talk to Dan Campbell specifically beforehand, but that as soon as we signed him, that's the first person I got a text from, and it was pretty cool just to see some of the texts you get about a player, and speaks to how they felt about him and the type of guy you're acquiring.
Just the way the last several years have gone with y'all, was it a priority to make sure you had a capable number 2 quarterback, and just bringing Jameis back?
Well, I think that's kind of been our plan the last couple of years in terms of just making sure that we have a capable backup quarterback, and we've certainly gone through some injury issues at that position in the last few years, and so having somebody that if something happens, you can put them in and you feel like you can go and win games with them.
He seemed frustrated a couple times last year. Did you guys have to talk about that at all after the season? Did they come back in the fold, or was that just kind of...
No, not really. I mean, look, quite honestly, when we signed Derek, I wasn't sure that was going to be something that Jameis was going to want to do, and there was communication between our side and his people, and it was something that he was interested in, and we were certainly interested in having him back, and so I'm glad it worked out that way.
Was he given permission to see if there was a starting job out there? Were you allowed to talk about it?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you if that conversation came up or not. But I think once we signed Derek, I think we all knew that we were going to have to rework the deal for him to be a part of it, and that was something that he was open to do and wanting to do, and we were able to get that done. So that was good for us.
One of the things I think we talked to you about after you signed Derek was him being almost like a recruiting tool for y'all. Has that played out the way you kind of envisioned with him helping you sign other players or bring players back even?
Well, look, he's been in constant communication with guys on our team, and yeah, we've utilized him when we've thought about bringing in a free agent player, somebody that he's had experience with. We've utilized him in terms of just how do you feel about the player? Do you like him? How would he fit in? All that kind of good stuff. And so yeah, he's been good in that regard.
And then, what was kind of your reaction when you heard about what Dr. Amos found with Foster?
Well,
that
number
whole thing seems
one,
kinda crazy.
number one, I was shocked,
Yeah.
you know, because I was driving in that morning and you know, got a call from Michael Parrington, and I'm asking him, you know, is Mickey at breakfast with Foster? And he said, no, you haven't heard yet. And I said, no, and he told me what had happened. And so, first thing is you're shocked. And then the second thing I think of is I think about our medical people and the lives that they've saved, specifically John Amos. You know, we found the heart condition with Nick Fairley. We found a heart condition with John Dornbos. The offensive lineman that we claimed from Buffalo, we found a heart condition with him. You know, and now with this, I mean, look, you don't like to find these things, but yet, like you don't want to see these things be present, but yet our medical people being able to find these things and really save people's lives is it's amazing, and I think our medical people do a hell of a job. Yeah, I would think so, and we still have a lot to do. You know, we still have, you know, the draft coming up, which is exciting. Another opportunity for us to add some players that we think will be able to help our team. But yeah, I feel good about where we're at and what we're doing. You don't have to ask. Yeah, we're really just kind of letting that legal process play out, and then we'll adjust our plans accordingly in terms of what we're dealing with from a legal aspect or what we're dealing with from a league discipline aspect. It's really not a whole lot we can do about it, you know, so I don't know that we spend a whole lot of nights thinking about it. You know, obviously we're aware of it, and you know, we have plans on how we'll address it, you know, if and when we need to.
How can Alante Taylor keep improving going into the second year?
Yeah, I think just the natural process of keep coming in and working and grinding. You know, I think he had a heck of a rookie season. I think he's aggressive in terms of his want to and willingness to tackle. I think we've got to do a better job of wrapping up at times and making sure we're getting the guy down on the ground. But there's a skill set there that from a coverage aspect that we really like. And so really it's just coming in and continuing to work and grind, and I think there's a natural progression that he'll be able to reach if he does that.
And just year two having continuity at safety, how important do you think that'll be with defense? Just those guys coming in knowing right away, kind of being, you know.
Yeah, look, I think it'll be. I think it's beneficial. But yet we talk about continuity. I'm just really trying to think how much did those two players actually play together last year, you know? And so there's continuity in terms of just they've been in the system for a year, and so I think they understand what we're trying to get accomplished. But yeah, I think getting both those players out there together, and you know, particularly Marcus May, keeping him healthy, I think will be big for us.
What role do the safeties kind of play, like the importance of just that mental aspect for the defense as a whole?
Well, look, there's a lot of checks and adjustments that go on in the back end of the defense based on what the offense is doing, and so those guys are really primarily responsible for making those checks, and so having guys that have been in the system that know what you're trying to get accomplished, I think helps you in that regard. But look, they're a big part of our defense and what we do. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw that when we drafted him, you know, and so look, the biggest key for him is being able to get healthy and stay healthy. You know, look, he had two, call it foot injuries in the same season, so there's a little concern there. But yet, if we can keep him healthy, the sky's the limit in terms of what he can do. I mean, he's big, he's physical. I love his play demeanor. He's athletic for a guy of his size, and so we're excited about the player. And obviously, again, the big deal is getting him healthy and keeping him healthy.
Kind of related to that, are you expecting Ruiz and Penning to both be good to go by the time you guys are going?
Yeah, I expect them to be healthy and fully participating at least at some point in training camp.
Yeah.
Our view is that they'll be ready to go for training camp, but we'll see how it goes as we go along, and we'll be smart with that.
With safeties, how do you scout like the mental aspect of it? Like obviously you can see the range and everything, but like how do you, when you're watching like say a college kid, like what's the process of kind of seeing what you need
Well,
to see there?
look, part of it is trying to acquire the information through our scouts with communication, at these colleges, talking to their coaches, and trying to acquire that information there. You can see some things in terms of communication on the tape, and then getting a chance to sit down and talk football with them. And so, look, we utilize our coaches out on the road a lot in terms of going out and spending time with these prospects, because you don't really know what you have until you actually get them in your building. And so the more time you can spend with them prior to that, the better your odds are. And look, the draft is I don't want to use the term crapshoot. It's not that. There's a margin for failure in any time you're bringing in a player, a coach, or whatever. And all we're really trying to do is minimize that margin for failure. And so the more time that you can spend with these players, the more you minimize that.
You position yourself to where, just with the moves you've made this offseason, where you really can go into the draft and say, we're going to take the best player now? Maybe not lean so heavily on.
I think that's always going to be our philosophy. And so, look, we go into these draft meetings, and we try to grade the player based on what we see, and not really based on what we might perceive as our needs. And so you don't want to artificially pump somebody up, because you have a need at a certain position. And so, again, I think I've said this. I like where we're at right now. I'm looking forward to this draft process and adding some pieces. But I like where our team is right now.
Do you feel like you have any musts left, or are those kind of taken care of?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think we've handled a lot of the musts. There's still there's definitely a lot of wants. There's always wants in terms of a coaching perspective. Probably a couple of needs that we need to try to make sure we fill a couple of spots. But again, I like where we're at.
Can you get into your schedule for the pro days lately? Kind of busy and traveling, and why do you like being out there at those specifically?
Well, I think last week we had a couple of private workouts at Clemson and Georgia and Texas, and then we were at pro days for Michigan was another private that we had, and then we were at pro days for Ohio State and Alabama. Yeah, I think again, being able to go to the school, see these kids in their environment where they're more in a relaxed environment, being able to go to dinner or lunch or whatever the case may be, sit down and visit with these kids, find out a little bit more about them personally, see them interact in a social setting, get in a meeting room and be able to talk football with them and see how they talk football. Those are all things that are tools that we utilize to be able to evaluate a prospect. And so, so I like doing that, and I think we've had the most success when we've drafted guys that we've had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with.
Coach, I know he had the injury last year. What are the Bills getting in Deontay Murray?
I think they're getting an explosive playmaker. I think he has that ability to do that, and so the key for him will be to be healthy.
Coach John, what are the Broncos getting Sean Payton?
They're getting a damn good coach. A guy that's helped me out in my career a ton. So he'll be awesome for that organization, and it'll be tough, demanding, and he'll win.
Okay, any doubt in your mind he can turn it around?
No.
How come?
Well, the Saints were 3-13 before he came here, and he built a Super Bowl winning team. So he's just a hell of a coach. Well, we were in way better shape this year than we were last year, right? Look, I think what Mickey and Kai are able to do in that regard is pretty cool. And really, had it not been for the COVID year, there really wouldn't be. We really wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now, but it's all part of. Look, and most of that goes over my head. It takes somebody way smarter than me to figure out the salary cap. That's why we have Kai. But it's all part of, how we handle our contracts and how we design our contracts, knowing that restructures will be part of what we do. No, and yet, look, the salary cap's real, and so, so it, like, you can't go out and do all the things that you might want to do. We have to be selective in how we go about our business and free agency, and so, but yet we've always been that way. How are we? Good? I'm doing outstanding.
Popped in at the exact right moment, Shereen, because I think we were all out of questions.
We're out of questions. Wow.
That's a first.
I got one. Since we got you
I
stuck here.
figured you did.
I always do. So there's kind of like this fan debate. I'm going to ask you about the prototype of defensive end. And people kind of wonder why you guys like the bigger guys versus some of the speed rushers. Like, what is the organizational philosophy on the big body guys? Is it just a prioritization of run defense as well as that pass rush? Or?
Yeah, I think it's a big man's game. And so, yeah, we like size and we like length. And it's been successful for us. Really, honestly, both in the run game and the pass game, because over the since I think 2017, we're top 5 in run defense and top 5 in sacking the quarterback. And top 5's a little generous. We're probably more 2 or 3, somewhere in there. And so it's just kind of our philosophy, and it's worked for us.
Coach, how much you talked to Sean Payton since he took over the Broncos job, but if you have, does he seem really rejuvenated, or how would you characterize that?
Yeah, look, I mean, certainly I've talked to him. He's excited about the job. He's excited about the organization, and I know he's excited about getting back and coaching football, and he'll do a hell of a job.
I don't know if comfortable is the right word, but I was here last year and you weren't certain who your quarterback was going to be, but that certainty of knowing who your quarterback's going to be, does it give you a comfort level?
Well, yeah, I think not just knowing who your quarterback's going to be, but having the confidence that you have the right quarterback for your team and for your system, and so look, we feel great about Derek. We feel like he's going to be an outstanding fit for our program, and yeah, it's a good feeling to know that you have the guy that you feel like can lead your team.
How much have you been in contact with him to figure out what he likes, doesn't like?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot more communication probably through him and Pete and him and Ronald Curry than there has been through me. And yet, look, we're going through that process and talking through a lot of different things in terms of, what he's comfortable with. And look, that's going to be it'll be an ongoing process. But I just think the way that he sees the game, the way that the things that he wants to be able to do at the line of scrimmage are all things that, I think Pete's been, accustomed to having. And so I think that's going to be a really good fit.
Does that make Pete's life easier when that's quarterback involved?
Yeah. Sir, well, number one, I think those two kind of see the game the same way, and so when you see the game the same way, I think that fit makes it a little bit easier. And I know that, look, I don't want to get into a comparison, but yet style would be more similar to the way we ran our offense with Drew, and so I think there's a comfortability with that, and we've had a lot of success that way.
Hey, DA, can I ask a couple Sean Payton questions?
Join the club.
Well, right, and I'm sure it's already happened, but kind of making it around. Did you think he'd be back in this quickly?
I knew he was coming back at some point in time, and who knew when that was going to be. But yeah, he's look. It's hard to, like, a football coach is a football coach, and so I knew it wouldn't be long before he was back in it.
How do you balance your appreciation for him bringing you to New Orleans with him trying to pick off some of your staff? I know there's a professional courtesy where he's not going to take too much of his contracts involved, but understanding he has relationships with certain guys.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's part of the business. It's part of what we deal with, and certainly, yeah, I knew that he had guys that were on the staff that he felt comfortable with, and was going to want to bring some guys with him, and so we were aware of that, prepared for that, and yet he didn't get all the ones he wanted.
Well, and then finally, how do you think he'll do with getting Russ back to the Russ that we were used to seeing for those 10 years?
Yeah, here's what I know. I know that he's a hell of a football coach. I know he's going to be, be tough, demanding, and he's going to build a winner there in Denver. Now, how he goes about doing that, I can't answer those questions. Those are questions for him. But yet, yeah, he'll do a great job.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Other moves in our division that caught my eye. Look, well, I'll start with Atlanta getting Onyemata and Caden Ellis. That caught my eye. Yeah, I mean, you're always paying attention to what happens in your division. I thought it was obviously interesting that Andy went to Carolina. so I paid attention to that. I think the quarterback position in our division is going to be interesting to see how that totally plays out. And there's a lot of time before that's settled. I don't know that there was anything from out other than seeing where our guys went in our division. I think that speaks pretty highly of our team and the type of people we have, that the teams in our division were really looking at acquiring our players.
Do you guys feel good about where the defensive line is? Or is that somewhere you could maybe look at?
Well, I still think. Do I feel good about it? Yeah, I feel good about where we're at. Do I think there's some additions that still need to be made? Yeah, and we'll look to see where we can add to probably specifically more in the defensive tackle area. Trying to. I think really what we're looking for right now is how do we build some depth, on the defense. We've tried to build a little bit of depth at the linebacker position. We still needed to add some depth at the defensive line position. Safety's an area that we added a pretty significant amount of depth to this offseason. So, look, we'll keep looking to see if there's anybody that pops up on our radar that we think can help us. But I think our focus has kind of moved a little bit more towards the draft.
Last one I got. You said just keep having Derek seeing the game the same way. That kind of helps. Is there anyone on defense seeing the game the same way as you? Does that help you when you have players that are?
Well, look, I hope they all see the game the same way I do. Specifically after we've had them for such a long period of time. I think, having DeMario for such an extended period of time, Cam, those guys like that have been with me for a long time, I think they kind of see it the way I see it now. I think that helps. I think that's beneficial. All good? Anything else?
I do have one thing.
We started early. We're going to end early.
I do have one thing.